Test 1, 2. Can you guys hear me? Excellent. All right, everybody. Good evening. I see that most of y'all sat towards the back. It's not a church service. We're in a church building, but it's not a church service. But it is good to see you guys today. Thank y'all for coming out. I'm showing 5:30, so we'll go ahead and, actually I'm showing 5:31 now. We'll go ahead and get started. But just so that everybody make sure that they're in the right place, okay? So there's a few meetings happening tonight. This meeting right now is new to school. So if you're new to Wayne Christian School, this is your first year at Wayne Christian School, this is where you need to be. At 6 o'clock, we'll be in here for the middle school meeting. So that's going to be for rising sixth graders and any new to school 7th and 8th graders will be in here at 6 o'clock. And then we have a 9th grade meeting that's going to be in the room next door that way. And so just so that everybody knows where they are, where they need to be, if you're here, you're not supposed to be, you're welcome to hang out. And then I'm sure the information will be helpful for you as well. So let me get started. I'm going to pray for us, and then after I pray, we'll go ahead and jump in to our presentation this evening. At the conclusion of our presentation, if you have any questions, I'm going to hang out outside for a little bit. We'll just I'm happy to answer them. We'll just have to clear out so that folks can get in for the next middle school meeting. So if you have a question that doesn't get answered, I'm going to have a couple of email addresses up here for you that you'll be able to pull up, and then you'll be able to email them, and then we'll get you the answer that you need. So let's pray together first. Heavenly Father, God, thank you, Lord, for these families that are represented here tonight, God. I thank you, Lord, for every family that you have brought to Wayne Christian School this year. God, we know that you have appointed it for this time, for this day, Lord. And I pray, Father, that you would bless this school year, that you would give us what we need, Father, to be able to learn, and that we would be a blessing in our community. We love you and praise you. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. I've had the chance to meet several of you before tonight. My name is Louis Miranda. I'm the school principal, so I oversee K through 12th grade. And then our staff is made up of an assistant principal in every building. So an assistant principal in elementary, an assistant principal in middle school, and an assistant principal in high school. And then we have other members of our leadership team. And I'm going to have them stand up in just a minute so that way you can meet them. But let's talk about what's on everybody's mind right now. COVID. And what does that mean for our school year this year? About 2 months ago, we thought we were done with COVID. So we were planning on normal school year and everything being like it was before COVID. But unfortunately, as you guys have watched the news and seen what's out there, this new variant has people concerned and questions being asked. And so we had to come up with a COVID protocol for this year. And so I'm going to share with you our COVID protocol for this year so that you are aware of it and know the action that the school will be taking. But we're calling this our Healthy Only Campus, all right? And I'm going to define for you what that means. So if anyone that has, if an individual has any flu-like symptoms within the last 48 hours, that individual is not permitted on campus, all right? So your child wakes up and they have flu-like symptoms, then what we would like for you to do is to keep them out and consult with your local doctor and then follow their direction. So if they recommend that they have a COVID test, then go get a COVID test and keep us updated on the results of that COVID test. If it's negative, great, come on back. Or they may need to stay out just because they have a fever, so they still have to follow our regular sick policy. If they have COVID, let us know, and we'll proceed as we need to with that. But we ask that individuals who have had flu-like symptoms within the last 48 hours to not come on campus. Notify the office, and we'll work with you when it comes to your next steps. We're going to be taking regular cleaning processes. We contract with High Standard Cleaning, and so each of our classrooms is outfitted with hand sanitizer, and we have hand sanitizer throughout the buildings, and we also have disinfectant that is available in every classroom for teachers to utilize. we're going to use common sense practices like encouraging hand washing. The number one deterrent in spreading germs, believe it or not, is as simple as washing your hands. If you wash your hands regularly, you are less likely to carry germs on your hands, which means you're less likely to get germs in your face. And so frequent hand washing, hand sanitizer being available, and disinfectant available in the classroom. And so we're going to make sure that kids are aware of that and that families are aware of that as well. Masks are going to be optional for anybody that wants to wear a mask. You're more than welcome to wear a mask. We're not going to discourage anybody from wearing a mask. However, following the CDC guidelines and following the North Carolina NC K-12 public school, or I guess looking at it for guidance, we determined that we would not require a mask at Wayne Christian School. You are more than welcome to wear one, and you're more than welcome to encourage your child to wear one. However, we won't be requiring anybody to wear a mask this year. This could change if there are other mandates that are put in place or other restrictions that we have to follow. But as of right now, this is our plan for masks. They're optional if you would like to wear them. In the event that there's a positive case on campus, don't worry, you don't have to read this. We're going to email this out to you so that way you'll be able to follow it. But in the event that there is a positive case, we are going to notify the classroom where there's a positive case. We're not going to notify the whole school. We're going to notify, so if there's a positive case in 3rd grade, we're going to notify 3rd grade families. If there's a positive case in 6th grade, we're going to notify 6th grade families. If you become aware of a positive case in your family, please let us know right away. So let's say that you are at a family reunion over the weekend and somebody you find out that somebody that was there has COVID, let us know so that then we can follow the necessary contact tracing and quarantine period for the individuals. Any individuals that are identified as a close contact, we will notify them. So you don't have to guess. We will contact you and we will tell you. You'll get a phone call from the school that says, this is Mr. Miranda from Wayne Christian School. I'm calling to let you know that your son or your daughter has been identified as a close contact to a positive case on campus. And then here's the guidelines for quarantine. They'll need to quarantine for 10 days from the date of exposure. In the event that they were exposed on a Wednesday, 10 days is the following Friday, and they can come back that following Monday. There is a way to shorten the quarantine period. I'm happy to talk with you about it after we get into one of the situations and give you more details on it. But basically what the CDC says is that if you are a close contact and you are tested and you are asymptomatic on the 5th day or later, if you test negative, then your quarantine can end on day 7. Okay, now, and you don't have to memorize that now. That's okay. I've already memorized it for you. I'll explain that process to you, and we'll talk about what that looks like for your child if they are a close contact. If you have a child that's been fully vaccinated, they are not considered a close contact, so they would not need to be quarantined. And then if a student has to stay home because of either COVID or being a close contact, your teacher's child will work directly with you to make sure that your child has the necessary information. This year we are 1-to-1, kindergarten through 12th grade, so your child will have a Chromebook assigned. Elementary and middle school don't take them home, but in the event that they need to quarantine, they'll be able to take home their Chromebook with them. And then you'll receive instructions on how to receive their materials during the days that they're out. We utilize Google Classroom, and we'll give you instructions on how to access the assignments and the work that they need. That's in the event of a positive case. Although we will not be offering a remote learning environment this year, we do need to be ready to toggle between remote and in person. And so you might be asking, well, Mr. Miranda, what would trigger the school having to go remote? If we were to have an outbreak in the middle school, and let's say we started to see that there were 10 or 15 6th graders, or 10 or 15 7th graders, or 10 or 15 8th graders, then that grade may go remote for a 2-week period. Last year we worked really hard to try to isolate cases to specific areas. So we tried to not shut down the entire school. In fact, last year, our middle school, our elementary only ended up having to close 2 days because of COVID and having to go remote. Eventually, we were able to kind of figure out the process, and we were able to isolate individual cases and grades. And so we're going to work really hard to not have to close down grades, but the nature of middle school and high school, because of them transferring classes and the way that middle school, high school adjust, it may be possible that they have to quarantine or that we have to go remote for a 2-week period in specific grades, so 7th grade or 9th grade or 12th grade. I think that's the end of, that's the end of that one. So that is our healthy campus, our healthy only campus for this year. If you have any specific questions about this policy, feel free to email me. My email is lmiranda, like the Miranda rights, at waynechristian.org, and I'd be happy to clarify any part of it with you. You will be receiving this in an email in the coming days so that you have access to it, so that you can look over it. This is our plan as of right now, and this is how we plan to proceed. In the event that we need to make adjustments, we'll communicate that to individual families. But we didn't come here to talk about COVID. We came here to talk about your first year at Wayne Christian School. So here's what you need to know about this year at Wayne Christian School. We have approximately 100 new students at Wayne Christian School just this year. For comparison, 4 years ago, when I came to Wayne Christian School, our enrollment was around 370. We hovered around 370, 375. This year, when we start school, we will have almost 580 kindergarten through 12th grade students at Wayne Christian School. God has been really, really good to us, and we are just so excited to be able to provide Christian education here at Wayne Christian School. And we're excited to have you. We're excited to have you be a part of our Wayne Christian School family. If you interviewed with, or when you interviewed, you probably heard one of our administrators say to you that when we talk about Wayne Christian School, we talk about you joining the Wayne Christian School family. And I really believe that that's what it becomes. It becomes a family for us. We will get to know you. We will get to know your children. My goal every year is to know every child's first and last name by Labor Day. And so typically, most years I'm able to meet that goal. This year I have 100 new ones to learn. And so I promise you that I will do everything in my power to get to know your child personally and know their name. But not just me. That's also each of our administrators. Each of our administrators works hard to get to know your child and to make sure that they feel connected and welcome. And we want you as families to feel connected here to Wayne Christian School. Our mission at Wayne Christian School is to assist parents and churches in the education of children from a biblical worldview. We talk a lot about that partnership. We talk about partnership with parents. We are entering into a partnership with you. Parents, God has ordained you as the key decision makers in your child's life and the key influencers. Barna studies show that your child is influenced by you between the ages of 4 and 14. And what your child believes at the age of 14 is probably what they will believe about the world, the Bible, and God for the rest of their life. And so we get them for that window, and we want to make sure that we partner with you in that education. And so we teach from a biblical worldview. We are unashamedly Christian. And what makes us Christian is not that we pray. Yes, we do that. It's not that we have a Bible class. Yes, we also have a Bible class. It's not that our children learn Bible verses. It's not that we have chapel. Yes, we do all of those things, and all of those things are important. But what makes us Christian, what makes us a Christian school, is that everything that is taught at Wayne Christian School is taught from a very distinct biblical worldview that teaches that God's truth is the whole truth and that it influences every aspect of the curriculum. So we teach math, we teach science, we teach history, we teach language arts, and I think we teach it very well. But it's all taught from a very distinct biblical worldview. And at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, what matters to us is that your child will come to hear the gospel and will come to know Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. We want them to do well on the SAT, and several of our students do. We want them to do well on the ACT, but more importantly, we want to shape their biblical worldview. Our vision here is that they'll come to treasure Christ, that will train their minds, and that will transform their lives. And we're committed here to developing in every student that comes through our doors proficiency in each subject while developing a biblical worldview in their life. So if that's what you're looking for, then my hope is that that's what you will find here at Wayne Christian School. So there's some important people for you to know. Some of them are here today, and I'm going to have them stand up whenever I introduce them. Mr. Brenner could not be here today. He's actually with his family dropping off his son at Dordt University in Iowa at the moment, but I know that he would have loved to have been here to personally welcome each and every one of you. And so he sends his welcomes as well. I spoke with him earlier, and he's excited about all of the families that are coming to Wayne Christian School. But some folks that are here that I want to introduce to you, all the way to my right over here, Mrs. Fox, if you'll stand up. Mrs. Fox is our middle school assistant principal. So if you have a son or daughter in 6th through 8th grade, Mrs. Fox is someone that you'll become very familiar with in a lot of good ways. Right beside her, if Mr. Fox, if you'll stand up, Mr. Fox is our athletic director at Wayne Christian School. So if you want to know about athletics, especially fall sports, right now we have football, soccer, cross country, volleyball, cheer. Did I miss anything? Girls golf. All 6 of those sports are available this fall. So if you want to know about any one of those sports, Coach Fox is your guy to talk to. He also coaches our boys varsity basketball team, and he coaches our state runner-up softball varsity girls softball team. And so he'll be somebody great to talk to about sports. Right over here, Mr. Craig, if you'll stand up. Mr. Craig is the elementary assistant principal. So if you have a son or daughter that's in kindergarten through 5th grade, Mr. Craig will be somebody that you come to know very well. Over here towards the middle of the room, Mrs. Anderson. Her official job title is the Director of Co-Curricular Activities. An easier way to remember is that she is the Queen of Fun. So when we talk about all activities at Wayne Christian School, Mrs. Anderson is the person. She organizes field trips. She's been organizing our back-to-school bash that's on Thursday. Today organized a senior lunch for our seniors. And so she is the Queen of Fun here at Wayne Christian School. Thank you, Mrs. Anderson. Right over here, Mrs. Ford is our assistant administrator of curriculum and advisement. And so if you have a student that's in high school, Mrs. Ford is somebody that you're going to want to get to know very, very well. Specifically when it comes to talking about your child's future plans, whether they plan on attending a four-year university, a community college. She's going to be the person that you're going to interact with quite regularly, and she also oversees professional development for our teachers and other aspects of what our teachers do on a day-to-day basis. So thank you, Mrs. Ford. And then right over here is Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas is our assistant principal for high school. So if you have a student in 9th through 12th grade, Mr. Thomas is going to be your guy, and he's somebody that you'll want to get to know as well. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. There's a few other folks that you need to know that aren't here. Mrs. Satterfield is our process champion, so she works with teachers. A good way to think about her role, she's like an instructional coach. She mentors teachers, she coaches teachers, she helps teachers in implementing our mission and vision here at Wayne Christian School. Mrs. Stevens, who's not here as well, you probably have seen some emails from Mrs. Stevens. Mrs. Stevens is our Director of Communications, and so she'll be the person who typically sends out emails to you. She's the person that you need to talk to if you're not getting emails or school cast messages. She's going to be the person to talk to. A few other folks that you need to know that are really, really, really important. These are the people that make things happen at Wayne Christian School. Mrs. Burt, she's not here tonight, but she handles student accounts and registrar. She's located in the administrative building on campus. Mrs. Amy Grady, she is our elementary secretary. So if you ever need anything in the elementary building, she is going to be your go-to person. So if you ever have a meeting that you need to set up with Mr. Craig or with a teacher, Mrs. Grady is going to be the person to set that up with. Miss Elisa Pearson, she's actually here with us. Mrs. Pearson, she is one of our office assistants. So on days that Mrs. Amy's not there, Mrs. Pearson will be in there, and she'll be able to help you. Today is day 1 on the job for Mrs. Pearson, so we're excited to have her. Mrs. Sandy Slusher is in the athletics office. So if you have a child that's an athlete, you'll want to make sure to work with Mrs. Slusher. So things like physicals, things like medical release forms, things like concussion forms, she's your go-to person. She also is going to help you with lunch accounts. So if you have questions about your child's lunch account, she's the person to work with in there. Randy Stroud is in our development office. So if you're interested in supporting Wayne Christian School, she's going to be your person to go and see and talk to. And then Mrs. Brenner, she's a consultant that partners with us. She works with a company called Forward Thinking. And so if your child needs accommodations in the classroom, if they have a service plan, an IEP, or a 504, she's going to be somebody that will work with you to ensure that those needs are being met here at Wayne Christian School. So those are some important people to become familiar with. It might be a little bit hard to see here, but this is just kind of a general layout of our school. This is the elementary building. This is going to be the gym and the cafeteria, the middle school building, and the high school building. And so just to give you a general idea, so traffic flow when you come into Wayne Christian School, traffic flow for elementary is in front of the gym and in front of the elementary building. So if you're dropping off elementary, you can drop off 4th and 5th grade in this area. Kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade can be dropped off in this area. There's a loop around this area. If you're dropping off kindergarten and 1st, you can also drop off in this area over here as well this year. We'll have people at each of those doors to greet your child when you drop them off. If you are dropping off, we ask that you just pull up to the sidewalk and pull as far forward as you can. Somebody will meet you at the door and we'll drop them off for you. If you're coming in, we ask that you park, and we wish you the best of luck when it comes to getting in and out in the morning. But you're more than welcome to try. If you're dropping off from middle school or high school, there's a loop that goes around over here. So you'll come in this way. If you can see my light on this side, you'll come in this way and loop around, and then you'll drop off in this general area right here. There's 2 lanes of traffic, so just pull in there, and that's where you'll drop off middle school and high school. We do have some parents that occasionally drop off middle school in the gym. We don't recommend it just because you'll get caught in the elementary traffic, and elementary kids don't always move the quickest, and so that's the general drop-off. Picking up is the same area. If you're picking up elementary, you're going to form 2 lines. You're going to form a line, 2 lines that go this way. There's actually 3 lanes of traffic, but the 3rd lane, the one furthest away from the school, is for through traffic. So you'll see the lanes if you've never done it before. It's going to be a little bit chaotic the first couple of weeks, okay? So we ask that you be patient when it comes to picking up. If you pick up middle school or high school, I would recommend coming closer to 250 because if you come before then, you're going to get stuck in the elementary traffic and you're not going to be able to get back here. Same thing with middle school, high school. If you pick up, you're going to come in this way, loop around, and it forms 2 lanes of traffic that run parallel to the gym and the middle school building. Here's a few tips on school hours. So drop-off starts at 7:45. Any student that's dropped off before 7:45 needs to be dropped off at the gym. We have morning care available there for them, so that way there's somebody there that can watch them. Morning care is an added fee. You can work that with Mrs. Burt in the student accounts office. The school day starts at 8 o'clock, so they need to make sure that they're in the classroom ready to go by 8 o'clock. Middle school, high school, there's a warning bell that rings at 7:55. First period begins at 8 o'clock. Student dismissal for elementary is going to be at 2:40, between 2:35 and 2:40. Middle school, high school starts at 2:50. You will not be able to pick up your child after 2 o'clock. And it's not that we don't want to give your child to you. It is just that it will be physically impossible for you to get into the parking lot after 2 o'clock. So I would recommend that if you're picking up your child before around 2 o'clock, you'll probably want to come a little bit earlier, because after 2 o'clock, it's going to be difficult for you to be able to get in. If you have children in multiple buildings, so if you have children in elementary and middle school and high school, pick up in elementary first, loop back around, and pick up in the middle school, high school line. Please don't pick up middle school or high school kids in front of the gym, because then it'll cause a backlog for the elementary. These are some of the tips that I've already discussed with you. Keep in mind that elementary building is considered a drop-off zone for students, and it's a pickup zone. And so if you come between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, don't park directly in front of the elementary building or the gym. If you come after 1:30, don't park directly in front of the elementary or the gym. Those areas are reserved for pickup and drop-off. You're going to get some tips at open house in elementary families will. You'll get some tips on drop-off and pickup. Make sure to review those so that you're confident in pickup. If you've never done it before, it's pretty easy. You'll be able to see the regular traffic flow of how people are following. But I would encourage you, don't come too early. Coming closer to the actual time is probably wisest. Medications, if your child takes medications, there's a form that we need you to fill out. Make sure to get one at open house night, and that medication needs to stay in the office, so that way we'll be able to administer it. They're not allowed to keep it on their person and take it themselves, and that's for all medication. That's even if you want your child to have Tylenol or ibuprofen, leave it in the office, and then we'll be able to administer it as needed. Lunch information, if you're new to school, you had a couple of options. You could have pre-purchased lunch for the year. You can see Mrs. Burt to see if you can still do that. I think the cost for that is $700 for the year, and you can pre-purchase lunch for the year. You can prepay by the week or month, so some families choose to do that instead. And some families just purchase on a daily basis. Kids just bring $5 each day to buy lunch. You need to pre-order your lunch every week by Tuesday. In fact, if you are a new to school family, you should have already received your login information for RenWeb. That's where you completed your enrollment. When you go on there now, you can find a tab that's called Family, and then on that tab, it says Lunch, and you can go ahead and order lunch for next week. Make sure to order lunch by Tuesday, midnight, every week. I guess it's 11:59 p.m. on Tuesday for lunch for the next week. We'll send you a text reminder, I think, for the first few weeks, just to remind you, so that way you get in the habit of doing it. But I would encourage you that if you're a planner and organizer, make yourself a note, put a timer, an alarm on your phone. Parents, it might be a good idea that if you have other parents in your child's class, just connect with them and send each other a text message to remind each other that you need to order lunch. On our school website, at the very top, you'll find a link that says WCS Family, and then it says Parent Portal. This is very helpful for you. On the Parent Portal, you'll find a link to Fax RenWeb. You'll find links to the Wayne Christian School Handbook. You'll find links to the lunch menu, to our dress code, a printable calendar, the advisement office, the WCS store. This is where you go to buy PE uniforms for your children, and then the WCS library. You can find information there. Each of these resources are going to be helpful and useful for you. You'll find that on the Wayne Christian School website. It says WCS Family. Click on the link that says Parent Portal. Parents, you're very important to us. We love you. We want you to be involved at Wayne Christian School. And there's many ways for you to be involved. You can be involved in the very important parents group. You'll get information about that on Thursday night. If you have a child in elementary, you might sign up to be a room mom. We'd love for you to be a room mom or a room dad. We don't discriminate. So dads, if you want to be involved and you want to be a room dad, we'd love to have you. We would love for you to come on field trips. Parents, oftentimes when we have field trips, we have a caravan of cars that are trailing the bus that goes on the field trip. We want you to be involved in the Booster Club. Our Booster Club is here to support our athletic program. And being a part of the Booster Club is going to help you make investments into the future of athletics at Wayne Christian School. So in the past, our Booster Club was focused on things like operational things like buying uniforms or paying for referees or buying game balls. Well, not anymore. We are restructuring our Booster Club to really help us achieve our goals when it comes to our athletics program. And so if you're interested in the Booster Club, there's going to be a table on Thursday night with the Booster Club. You'll want to see Scott Johnson, our Booster Club president. He would love to talk about how you can be involved with the Booster Club. We have other school events and activities that happen throughout the year. You're welcome to be involved. We have Field Day, we have Booster-thon, we have programs throughout the year. Parents, we want you to come and be involved in those. For more information, this is a slide if you want to take a picture of it. These are two people that will be great resources for you. Amy Grady for the elementary building, Kaylin Darden for middle school and high school. Their phone numbers are there as well as their email addresses. So if you have any question about the start of school, open house, things like that, those are the people to talk to. Thursday night is our back to school bash. It starts at 4 o'clock. It's from 4 to 8 o'clock. When you get here, you'll see that it's going to be packed. We're going to have food trucks here. So come, there'll be opportunity for you to have dinner here. There's going to be inflatables. There's going to be things set up in the gym. You'll be able to buy shirts. You'll be able to sign up for Booster Club. You'll be able to get information about very important or very involved parents groups. All of that information is going to happen on Thursday. It's a floating event. So come anytime between the hours of 4 and 8, and you'll be able to meet your child's teacher. That's a good night to bring school supplies. That's a good night to purchase attire, WCS attire for your children. That's a good night to learn about Booster Club and the VIP group. And so make plans to be here on Thursday night. At least one parent between 4 and 8. We've got you covered for dinner, and we've got you covered for entertainment that night. It'll be a lot of fun. So that concludes our new parent orientation. So at this time, if you are a 6th grader or a new middle schooler, you'll stay in here. If you are a 9th grader, you'll head on over to the building over there. If you're neither of those, thank you so much for coming, and I will see you on Thursday night.
that thing was on. It is on? Try again. Can you hear me now? Okay. All right. Welcome to Wayne Christian Middle School. Some of you that were in the last meeting are going to hear a few things that you've already heard. This presentation is longer than what we're actually going to cover because what this is intended to do is tell you about middle school here at Wayne Christian. All right, so, and I know some of you have already heard this. Our mission here at Wayne Christian, if you break it down to the basics, is that we want to partner with you and your church to raise up your children from a biblical worldview. We want to teach that biblical worldview. We want to instill it in them so that as they get older, they are going to live that out. Our vision is to treasure Christ, train minds, and transform lives. Wayne Christian School is committed to developing in its students a proficiency in each subject while establishing a biblical worldview that teaches students how to pursue and maintain a personal relationship with Christ. So as Mr. Miranda mentioned earlier, for those of you that were here, we teach all the subjects, but we teach them strictly from a biblical worldview. All right, so we are doing something a little bit different this year. For those of you who are rising sixth graders, and then we have our new 7th and 8th graders, you weren't here last year, but we did have some siblings in here last year, so we wanted to make sure that we covered how class is going to look in the upper campus this year. We have in the past had 7 class periods each day. This year we're going to a modified block. Most classes through the week will be 80 minutes. I know that sounds like a lot. They'll have 4 classes a day, but what it's going to allow us to do is have more time, and I'm biased because I teach science, right, Miss Britt? It's going to have more time for things like science labs. It's going to have more time for even math labs. It's going to have allow us more time for research papers where we can get a little more in-depth with our subject matter rather than changing every 40 to 45 minutes per subject. I know that this block schedule looks a little overwhelming. We're all going to be working to understand it and get to know it, and I think within a couple of weeks, we'll be rolling with it. Something that we wanted to make sure that we went over were our enrichment courses. For 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, these are what we call enrichment courses, but they're required. So you have physical education each year of middle school, but for 6th grade, for example, which most of you are 6th graders, you also have art and study skills. How that looks with a block schedule is you'll have physical education, say Monday block 1. But Wednesday block 1, you may go to art. And then on Friday block 1, you would go back to PE. Let's say that's semester 1. For semester 2, that same group of students will continue to have PE, but their offset enrichment course will become study skills. I know that sounds a little confusing, but in the course of 2 weeks, you will have your first block 5 times because we are also offsetting an A block and a B block. I know that sounds confusing. It took me a while to kind of digest it as well. 7th grade, same thing with physical education all year, and they'll offset art and computer applications. 8th grade, we're doing something a little new. They're offsetting physical education with art and digital literacy. Something that, and I know we have a couple new 8th graders in here, something that we have found is that social media is a huge presence with a lot of middle schoolers. We want to teach those middle schoolers how to be on the internet safely, successfully, and from a biblical worldview. And that's what our digital literacy class is going to be covering. All right, middle school athletics. We have, as you can see in the fall, a large offering, but I wanted to give some specifics. I had the inside scoop because my husband's the athletic director, so he gave me all of the information because it's a little different for middle school. So in the fall right now, we have JV football, but that actually includes 6th through 9th graders. Volleyball for girls, 6th through 8th. Cross country is girls and boys. Cheerleading, girls golf. Girls golf and varsity boys soccer is a little bit different. 7th through 12th graders can actually play on the team. 6th graders can practice, but they can't play in games. And that's a state association rule that we think is a good rule. 6th graders probably don't need to be competing against seniors in high school. So, but they can practice and plan to play the next year. Winter sports, basketball for girls and boys, 6th through 8th. We also have swimming, girls and boys, 6th through 8th, and cheerleading. And then in the spring, we have JV baseball. It's similar to our JV football. It's 6th through 9th. JV softball is the same way. Track for girls and boys. JV soccer for girls, 6th through 9th. And then boys golf will follow that same pattern. 7th through 12th can play. 6th can practice, but not play yet. All right, I wanted to go over sort of our classroom discipline model. And when I say discipline, I really like to call it discipleship, because we have instituted a process here at Wayne Christian School over the last probably 3 years where we are trying to produce self-managing classrooms. The purpose of that is to allow students to take responsibility for their actions and understand that they make choices all day, every day. So we have a very long process that we go through with training with our teachers and administrators, but I wanted to just show you kind of the highlight points. The first is the Excel model. We try to, and this is what your students will see when they're coming into our classrooms each day. That first D stands for engage. We are going to meet your students at the door. We're going to shake their hands, depending on COVID regulations at the time. We may have to fist bump. We're going to look them in the eye, and we're going to welcome them into our classroom. The X is explore. We are going to do something in our class, and some of you that have been at Wayne Christian School have probably done this already, called Good Things, where we spend about 5 minutes at the beginning of class basically letting the students tell us something great that has happened, because we want to start our class off on a positive note. The C is communicate. That's our time to express content. We try to make that a varied thing. We don't want to do the same thing every day. We do a lot of small group work, think, pair, share, individual work. Try to break that up. Block scheduling will enhance that. We'll be able to do several different things through the class period. E is empower. We want our students to take what we're teaching them and actually use it. So we'll do a lot of authentic type learning. And then L is launch. So at the end of the class period, we're going to do something to increase the students' passion for the subject. Along with the Excel model, we have a way of correcting behavior in the classroom. And the first step is the 4 questions. When a student is off task, disrupting the class, doing something that nobody in here would ever do, right? Boys, you're not shaking your heads, no. We're going to walk up to them and in our sweet little voices, and we're going to say to them, hey, what are you doing? And they're going to answer. And we're going to say, what are you supposed to be doing? And they're going to tell us. And we're going to say, were you doing that? And they'll probably say no. And we'll say, what are you going to do about it? And that way they kind of take ownership of what was going on. Hey, I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, and I need to straighten up and get going. We ask our other students to help each other. This is where the self-managing part comes in. I'm going to use you, Miss Britt. So Miss Britt is talking over here to Tyson, and I'm her classmate. Yeah, she's talking. I'm going to check her. Hey, Miss Britt. Yeah. So Miss Britt might look at her classmate and be like, okay, I got it. Meaning, hey, you're about to get asked the questions. Shh. Okay? So we want to start self-managing, and students start to help each other. Because, right, we don't want our classmates to get in trouble. So we're going to help and start self-managing. So that goes along with our 4 questions. In middle school in the past, we have had a system of consequences called demerits. As a matter of fact, all these fifth graders that were at Wayne Christian last year, they came to see us for a day. We had a great time. And they asked me, I said to them, hey, you guys, what questions do you have? Guess what 90% of the questions were about? Demerits. Miss Fox, what happens if I get a demerit? What's a demerit? How do you get demerits? All these things. And so, and I told them, but now we're not having demerits anymore. So we don't have to worry about demerits. We just have to worry about making sure that we behave to stay in the class. So the demerit system we're not going to use anymore. We're going to allow our teachers to have some in-class consequences because studies show that immediate consequences help correct behavior much better than something delayed. So in the past, a student may have gotten 1 demerit. And then next week, they get 2 demerits. And then the third week, they may get 2 more, and they're at 5. And 3 weeks later, they have now earned detention, which we don't want to ever happen, but they have. But that's not really an immediate consequence. It doesn't really send the message that, hey, maybe what I'm doing is not really what I'm supposed to be doing in class. So we're going to allow teachers to have in-class consequences. However, if the teachers have gone through their consequences, which will be fair and reasonable, and a student still will not correct, then they actually can earn a behaving out of the classroom. If they behave out of the classroom, that is an automatic detention. Things that could cause that would be going through the questions with somebody. If I had have gone through the questions with Miss Britt and then the same behavior continued to happen, she would get to a point where she had behaved out of the classroom. At that point, students will go to the office, get to see me. That's not why I want to see you, though. Just want to see you, not for that reason. But come down and see me, and I'm going to have a conversation with them. And we're going to decide, me and the student, are they going to be able to head back to class at that time? I'm going to say they will. I'm going to walk them back down. We're going to have a conversation. Let's say that they behaved out of Miss Britt's class. Sorry, you're just there. You're in that seat. So they behaved out of it. And so Miss Britt and I, and whoever I have, we're going to have a conversation and make sure that they're ready to enter the class again. Ultimately, we are trying to set them up for success, and we want to let them see that their choices caused something like this to happen, but we want to restore it. And that's ultimately why we have chosen to go with this behavior plan. So that would be behaving back in, okay? Does anybody have any questions about that? Yes, sir, Dr. Horton. Well, thank you so much for telling me that. I don't know if I can, let me try to fix that. And I couldn't hear that, so. Let me try this. Probably gonna get loud. Is that too loud? We good? Okay, any questions about, this is something very new. It's new for us too, the behaving in and behaving out. Okay, if you decide you have questions, if you're like me and you get home and you thought of 20, you can just send me an email. All right, or call me. Okay, people to know, this is middle school. I'm just gonna go over middle school specific. Mr. Brenner, school administrator, I know a lot of you were in this last meeting, and so you saw this list. Mr. Miranda is our K through 12 principal. Myself, Mrs. Fox, middle school assistant principal. Miss Anderson, I think she stepped out. She stepped out. She's actually our director of activities. She's the one putting on the big back to school bash Thursday, which we'll talk about at the end. Miss Satterfield is our process champion. So all the process that I just went over, the Excel model, the 4 questions, the behaving in and out, she helps our teachers with that whole process. She does that all year long. And then Coach Fox, back in the back, if you'll just wave, he's our athletic director, so any athletics questions we'll direct to him. For office staff, I'm just going to talk about one for middle school, and I have bolded her name. It's Kaylin Darden. She does all things Upper Campus, and if you've been here before, You know how valuable she is. So she answers your phone calls. She signs your children out. She takes sick notes. She does attendance. She does all these things. She also is a fountain of knowledge. So you may want to just keep that name in mind. The very last slide has her extension on it. So anything you need, you can always give her a call. All right, campus overview. I'm just going to show you middle school stuff. So the purple blocks and the yellow right beside the purple, that is the middle school. You will have 90% of your classes in middle school. Sixth graders, you will have all of your classes except your electives there. Seventh and eighth graders, I know I saw a couple come in, you may have a class or two in the high school hallway. All right. Okay. Middle and high school drop-off. Last year, because of COVID, you were allowed to drop your kids off at 7:30. That was because, if you recall, some of you that were here before, we had to take temperatures for a very long time. And we needed the time to do so. This year, we're back to the regular times, and you cannot drop off until 7:45 if you're wanting your student to walk straight into the upper campus. And if you don't know, upper campus we call 6th through 12th grade. If you do need to drop off early, we have morning care. It's in the gym. It is for an additional fee, but it is there if you need it. The warning bell rings at 7:55. This year, we have purchased Chromebooks for every student in the middle school. They're not going to be taking them home every night. There's going to be some times when they can be checked out for projects and if you have to go remote, different things like that. But in the morning, your students, you have to go to your homeroom and check your Chromebook out for the day. So is it reasonable for you to get there at 2 minutes till 8? It is not, because you've got to go first, and that's kind of your first big responsibility as a sixth grader, is that you have to get there in time to go see your homeroom teacher, check your Chromebook out, and be to first period by 8 o'clock when the bell rings. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Got to get there 5 minutes early. That's all, 5 minutes early. All right, first period begins at 8. Jumping to dismissal, student drivers in the high school are dismissed at 2:50. Middle schoolers are not. When the bell rings at 2:50, middle school goes back to their homeroom, and then we will call names similar to the same way we dismissed this past year for those of you who were there. Parents will come, we will call names, you will be given a tag again, and then we will dismiss kids from homeroom. The reason we're sending middle school back to homeroom and not allowing them to just leave, they need to check that Chromebook back in, okay? Students not picked up by 3:15 will need to go to extended care, and students are absolutely not allowed to wait anywhere. Says the gym up there, I'm going to go ahead and say anywhere on parents after 3:15. They have to go to extended care. That is not because we want everybody in extended care, it's a safety thing. We need to make sure that we can account for our students. I want to go back up to the third to last bullet point. Parents cannot pick up students early after 2. The reason that we say that is because the parking lot is going to be full of elementary pickup line. And if you try to come in at that time, you will not be able to get out because the line will start, hopefully, and this is what I'm going to request, not before 2:30 at the upper campus, because then we have a backup and elementary parents can't get to their students, and we also can get a pretty hefty backup down Patetown Road. But if you come at 2 or after, sometimes a little before, you just won't be able to get back out, okay? Here are some traffic guidelines, and these things are here for you guys. I've seen several people snapping pictures. That's what they're here for. Middle school students are dropped off and picked up in the loop near the athletic fields. If you're unfamiliar, the campus map that was up there and we were looking at the middle school is to the right, the loop is. There are 2 lines that start at the turn of the loop. It is important that cars are not in the fire lane. That's the grassy area to the right of the car line. And that's anywhere from the beginning of Patetown Road all the way to when you pick up your student. And this is, the next paragraph is just talking about trying to make sure we impress the importance of not coming to start the pickup line before 2:30. If you have an elementary age child, please pick them up first and then come back and get in the upper campus line. And then please review arrival and dismissal tips to ensure that procedures for dropping off and picking up runs as smoothly and safely as possible. I will tell you from experience, because I do dismissal line, if you get there too early, you could be sitting in that line for 45 minutes waiting. And I see some parents in here who probably know what I'm talking about. So waiting longer actually keeps you there less time. All right, I'm not going to talk about lunch information because you probably have received all that information if you're a new family for 6th graders. If you're new, you've received it. If you were here, you know. But I do want to talk about medications because this is a different rule. In the past, there were some medications that a student could carry with them. That is no longer the case. All medications, including prescription and over-the-counter, should be taken to the office by a parent, and I think this one's going to be a big change from what I've seen. It has to be in its original packaging. So what we cannot accept this year are sandwich bags with a name and medicine in it. We have to have it in its original packaging. Students may not carry any medication on them at any time. Yes, ma'am. An inhaler can be on them, so it's just any prescription pill. It almost exclusively is with pills. So yeah, an inhaler is fine. Good question. Okay, this is tiny, and I know that the little blocks are tiny, but I want to show you one thing. We are requiring parents and students this year to sign that they have read and understood the handbook. On the parent portal on WayneChristian.org, you can click parents and then click parent portal, and then that second block there says WCS handbook. We have made some substantial changes to our handbook this year. They will be highlighted for you to see. So if you're familiar with our handbook in the past, if you're a returning family, just make sure that you read over our changes. Several of them I've already went over, which is part of the purpose of having this meeting. But it's important that you read the entire handbook because we are going to assume that you know the things that are in the handbook and what's expected of you. I'm going to give you an example. We have certain standards that we expect our students to uphold while they're on campus. Part of them would be not wearing a t-shirt with something inappropriate on it, not wearing clothes that we would deem inappropriate according to our dress code. Those rules actually still apply at WCS events. So the shirt that has something inappropriate can not only be not worn at school, it also can't be worn at a football game. So those are very important things to read and make sure that you understand and know coming into the year. Okay? All right. We value our parents, and last year was tough because parents could not be on campus very often. What I'm getting ready to go over could change depending on what happens with COVID. If you were in the last meeting, Mr. Miranda went over what our COVID policy is going to look like this year. You will get information about that since this is middle school specific. But what we want to do is we want you to be as involved as possible. And then there are some ways up there for middle school that you can participate. The VIP is very involved parents, I think, or very important parents, and it's a volunteer parent group. This year, towards the end of the year, they were able to come in. They brought some food to the faculty, I think, They did some other fun things at the school. But I've been told, this is just starting my second year, that they do a ton in normal, non-COVID years. So that's one way you can get involved. Field trips, parents are always encouraged and invited to attend field trips. Booster Club, which is with athletics. This year, I think they raised money to purchase a scoreboard for the looks like might get a new football soccer board. So lots of things to invest in with athletics to help them move forward. And then always want you involved in school events and activities. So we have things like Boosterthon. We have chapel. We have field day. And we actually were able to see a lot of parents out at field day this past year. So lots of events and things. We want you to be on campus. All right, last slide finally. Okay, so here's that information slide I was telling you about with our office assistant, Kaylin Darden. Anytime that you have a question during school, if you need to check your student out, if you need to send a doctor's note, anything, she's the person to call. You can, of course, always call me. There are several people that we are there to answer questions, but we are not always in our offices. As a matter of fact, we're out of our offices more than we're in them. So Kaylin, she is almost always in her office because she's the person that welcomes students, welcomes parents, opens doors, things of that nature. Okay? All right, well, we are looking very forward to seeing everybody Thursday night. It's the Back to School Bash. It is at the campus. We're going to have food trucks, lots of fun. You can meet your teachers, go see your classrooms, and we are just super excited about this upcoming school year. Yes, ma'am?
About the block schedule, so will they just have 4 classes?
They have 8. So they'll have 4 on one day, then the next day they'll have the next 4. And it'll alternate each time.
Have English every day.
They will not. Yeah. They'll have double time, but it'll just be one day. Yeah, good question. Okay, you guys have a wonderful evening.